SCORE Northeast Wisconsin and WHBY are pleased to bring you BizTalk, a chance for you to hear from entrepreneurs and professionals as they share their experiences. From starting to sustaining growth, learn the skills needed for your business to be successful. If you miss anything, you can catch the BizTalk podcast at score.org/Northeast Wisconsin. And now from the Myron Construction Studio, it's BizTalk on WHBY.
Morning, everyone, and welcome to BizTalk the Score. This is our final show of the year, and during this show, we're going to be talking a little bit about the show itself and what happened during the year, and also just some general things about SCORE. So to get started, I just want to kind of give people some quick statistics about the show because it fits into what our purpose is. We use this radio show to help educate listeners in the area about the range of small businesses and nonprofits that are here, because it's very surprising for people to sometimes to hear some of that. Plus, we're story-based. We really want them to tell their stories. So it's less about instruction and more about the story. And so what we're trying to do is really help not just the Fox Cities, but the whole region. So some statistics for you. We did 48 episodes in 2025. With the 3 regular hosts, which are here with me today is Rick Sense and Mary Rhode are joining in as hosts this week. We also had 5 guest hosts, some more than once, but I'd particularly like to thank Pat Lowney and Bob Molitor. Both have since moved on from SCORE, but Pat was a co-host of this show for probably 6 years. And Bob Molitor was a former chair of the chapter and a regular guest host for most of the time I was in SCORE. I've been in SCORE, so about 7+ years. Also like to thank John Drengler, Keith Keller, and Dan Pileski for coming on and being guest hosts. Second mentions or additional mentions go to John Drengler, who helps us with our marketing and sponsor management, and Sandy Weiland, who does all the administrative work and keeps us in line, making sure we getting our stuff done in time. So a couple other things just to mention on the show. We do try to have a wide range of different businesses on. I'll just mention that in 2025, there were probably, I think there was 10 different categories of guests, but the top 3 were consumer services, like a hair salon, a cleaning business, laundry business, that type of thing, etc. We had 8 of those businesses on. Education and training, so not just a college and university, but also some people who focused on training with business. And that was 7. And then 3 were tied with 6. Finance, retail or product sales to consumers, nonprofit business services. All of those had about 6. And the last thing I'd just like to mention on this is, as we expanded our chapter to support Northeast Wisconsin, we also wanted to cover a little wider range than the Fox Cities. 1, because WHBY does, and we're heard in different places. But 2, that's where a lot of our mentorship is done too. So we want to make sure we're covering the region. And we had 48 shows this year, and 22 of them were outside of the Fox Cities. So that's about right, maybe one of the split you're looking at, 26-22, trying to make sure we're bringing in people from other parts of the area, because it is of interest to everybody to know what's going on in the region. So one other thing we did this year was really start to push our podcast. It was introduced in middle of 2024. We had always put a recording on our website, but we actually started working more with our podcast. And Rick's going to tell you a little bit more about the podcast.
Yeah, it's very exciting so far this year. Thanks, Terry. The podcast has been something that, as times have changed, back in the day, radio was king, and now podcasts have kind of taken that in the new direction. I like to look at podcasting as radio without having all of the stuff that goes along with radio, and it's on your time and it's on your control, which makes it really helpful for folks that want to take the time and get in depth on something they might not be able to that they're hearing live on a radio show. Based on wanting to achieve that opportunity for people to really connect with the guests while having someone on a program, and give them a chance to really kind of sit back and listen and play back and rewind and go back and re-listen to things. We decided to go ahead and go live with the show and go move it to the podcast format as well. And we're happy to report that we're available right now through 12 podcatchers. And pretty much wherever you get all of your favorite podcasts right now, you can find us there at BizTalk with Score is the program name. And we have had over 1,200 downloads so far this year. And so if you take the time if you like what you hear today, make sure you let your friends know, spread the word that BizTalk with Score is available and a great resource for those looking to gain more information and to hear the wonderful programming that we're already doing live on WHBY on Saturday mornings.
Okay, thanks, Rick. And one of the questions we often get is, why does SCORE focus on small businesses, and why are you doing what you do? And we're going to have Mary talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, thanks so much, Terry. Just to kind of sum off of what Rick said, to make sure when you're checking out those different podcast platforms that you click that little follow or that little notification bell. That way you get notified when we put those brand new episodes up there, and you can continue to hear all of these amazing stories of these small businesses. And truly, it almost goes without saying that small businesses are the backbone of America. And I think, highlighting and hearing you, Terry, talk through some of those statistics, some of those categories of the different businesses, different types of businesses that have appeared on the program throughout the year. It was really great to hear the large gamut of different industries that we cover. And 46% of all jobs in the United States are with small to medium organizations. And that is, that's a big number, right? That's a lot of, I just look at, selfishly the downtown Green Bay area where I work, and just the variety and sizes of all the different businesses that make up the fabric of downtown Green Bay. Switching quickly to talk a little bit about unemployment, right? That's a number that's consistently shared across a lot of different news channels throughout the year. And it's something that folks really pay attention to. National unemployment numbers, are up, this year, 4.1%. They've gone up to 4.5%. However, in this region, our New North region, we are staying at, a 3%. So definitely below that national average, but still a point of interest, a point of concern for so many. SCORE as an organization definitely has great support from local and regional government, along with a ton of other nonprofits and small businesses as well, feel that support. I think post-COVID, there's been so many different opportunities for businesses to feel supported. And sometimes that support isn't always financial, right? It sometimes comes along with business planning, or businesses are looking to expand, getting that coaching, that mentoring, certainly that SCORE provides, along with so many other organizations, to help these businesses scale appropriately. And it just, again, in my line of work, I often share out a lot of those webinars and workshops and all those different free offerings that come across my plate to again help build up those small businesses. And lastly here, AI, right? We cannot talk anything these days, especially business, without talking about AI and the impact that it has and certainly will continue to have. And it's utilized in a lot of different ways in a lot of different industries. And there's a lot of pros and cons out there to it. And I'm sure in all of our roles, we've heard those pros and cons.
Okay. Thanks, Mary. As you were talking, one thing that came to my mind is, over the last few months, we've heard an awful lot about layoffs at larger companies, and a lot of large companies trying to get funding from the federal government. The interesting thing to me as you talked was small businesses, medium businesses are almost 50% of the business world of jobs out there. They're over 55% of the jobs created, but you don't hear as much about how small businesses are doing. And it's just something that I hope we can help with as we do the show, because small businesses are so important to this economy. And Mary said, that our unemployment rate in this region has not changed. Yet you've heard all the news about layoffs, and a lot of people just automatically assume that's happening here. And who knows, it may, but it hasn't so far. So it's been very good to see. So one other thing I wanted to mention as we go forward just about the 2025 calendar year too, is we tried a number of new things this year. One of them was having a theme month. We learned a lot from doing that, but our theme this year was women in business. And it was actually we really enjoyed doing it. We had, I think, 5 shows that we did. And
well, I was just going to say, Terry, to give people a peek behind the curtain here, that brainstorming session, our meeting to plan this month, our guest list was so long and we had to narrow it, right, to the number of shows that we had to have in that month. But it just goes to show the strength of women-owned businesses in the New North.
Yeah. And just to point out too, for SCORE, close to 65% of our new clients have been women. And we're seeing a lot of women look at opening businesses, and I'll talk about that a little bit in the third segment to an extent too. But we had some great shows. We had 2 very successful executives, a separate show with each of those. So CEO of Community First Credit Union, and also the leader of the Business News. So it was really great to have those. We talked about our statewide Women in Business Conference. We had a great guest from I think it's the Schreiber Women's Leadership Institute. I think I got that right. And then we had a panel on work-life balance. So all of those were really good, and it was great to see the interest in the discussions, and I learned a lot. We are now discussing options for a 2026 theme month. We don't know for sure what it is, but there's some ideas out there, and we just have to figure out how we get it done and work. So we'll work on that in January, but we really are appreciative of all the guests we've had on, and the listeners who come in and listen to this both in the podcast and on WHBY. So that's some issues on the theme month itself. The other thing I'll just throw out there too is you look at SCORE and what we do. We've been around for over 60 years now, and providing support to small businesses and nonprofits. And times have changed, and the information and requests we get from small businesses have changed, but we're still able to provide a lot of that. So we'll talk again in the second segment a little bit more about SCORE, but we're very, very appreciative of all the things our clients and our listeners do for us. So with that, we're going to take our first break. You're listening to BizTalk with SCORE on WHBY. I'll be right back.
Welcome back to BizTalk with SCORE on WHBY. I'm Rick Sense, and with me today are Mary Rhode and Terry Pinch, co-hosts of BizTalk with SCORE. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the voice behind the curtain. Zach Morris, our producer, who has been with the show for many years, works for WHBY and is our extraordinaire producer who keeps us in line and keeps us flowing on Saturday mornings. So, Zach, thank you for all you do for us here at BizTalk.
Thanks, Rick. It's a lot of fun.
All right. Well, before we get back to the program, I'd just like to take a minute to talk a little bit about SCORE. SCORE Northeast Wisconsin serves an 18-county area in Northeast Wisconsin that also includes Menominee County in Michigan. We have more than 50 volunteers, each an expert in their field, offering entrepreneurs no-cost and confidential mentoring. Those areas of expertise include IT, social media, marketing, cash flow, accounting, strategic planning, workflow, human resources, retail best practices, and many, many others. In order to register for a no-cost confidential mentoring session and or to learn more about SCORE Northeast Wisconsin, please visit our website at score.org/Northeast Wisconsin. You can learn more about how the SCORE chapter can assist you with starting and or growing your business, and you can complete an application for a mentoring session. Simply complete the online form and submit it to SCORE. Within a few days, a SCORE mentor will be contacting you to set up a meeting. Remember, SCORE is no cost and offers experts who can offer you assistance in many different areas. To get started, please visit our website at score.org/Northeast Wisconsin. And to support small business people, SCORE Northeast Wisconsin is always looking for new mentors. If you have experience that you would like to share with others, we'd love to talk to you. We welcome volunteers with experience in all aspects of business. Small business owners need your help, and your experience can make a real difference to their success. Go to score.org/Northeast Wisconsin, click on the volunteer button, and fill out the short application, and we'll get back to you to explain more. So thanks again for joining us this morning on BizTalk. And Terry, there's been a lot of changes at SCORE this year. You want to fill everybody in on listening in this morning on some of those changes that have happened?
Yeah, thanks, Rick. First, just to remind everybody, SCORE is a national nonprofit. We are affiliated with the Small Business Administration, but we're a separate nonprofit. In the past, about 60% of our funding came from the federal government. The rest we raised ourselves. But as with many other organizations that were involved or got a lot of government funding, a lot of that was cut this year. And so we no longer have government funding, but we look at it as it means just we have to figure out another way to operate, and we're going to be operating with most of our funding being raised by ourselves. And we still have a good relationship with the Small Business Administration and are still work with them, but we also know that we have to raise our own funding. So a number of things have happened. First, SCORE National had to make some significant changes. So they had to reduce their staff by about 50% to be able to manage within the budgets of what we can raise. They had to look at other efficiencies. We're starting to look at how we use artificial intelligence in a couple of areas. And we started to have to look at doing more local funding. Well, we're very lucky here is because we've always had local funding in this area, and it's through BizTalk with SCORE, this radio show and podcast. We raise all the money the chapter needs to pay its what will be dues to the national organization through the radio show. And so it's very important to us to have the show, but our sponsors, and we'll talk about them more later in the show too, our sponsors really help us out by funding and making things work. The thing that I will say, despite having the funding, it is having a significant impact on how we work, just because the national organization that supports us is going to be a little bit slower adapting and adjusting because they don't have the staff they used to have. But they're doing a good job trying to work through it. And as an organization, they've helped us a lot as we work through these changes. So SCORE will continue to focus on mentoring and education. One of the places you'll see some changes is in some of our online educational events. If they're webinars that are national, there may be a small $10 or $15 charge, but most education is still free. But there's a lot out there, but we're doing small things like that to help raise money as well as talking to corporations and other organizations. But locally, for the moment, we are raising money through the show and doing a good job there of funding things. So we're pretty happy with it where that is, and it will not affect us in that way. So behind the scenes, there's going to be some significant difference, but the focus on mentoring and education is not changing. And our intent is to ensure that our clients do not see any of those changes. So we wanted to make you aware that things are going on, but we're working through them, and we've got a good national organization that's trying to work through them as well. So that's where we are with SCORE, and we do really appreciate everybody who has helped us and been a part of SCORE over time. So, Rick, as you look at your involvement, you've been a member of SCORE for several years now, primarily on the radio show. What have you seen from SCORE that you say that really is something that can help people?
Boy, I'll tell you, Terry, I run into this all the time with my job. I work in economic development in Calumet County and also in tourism, and working with a lot of the businesses that are putting together programs here in the county. I'm just always amazed at how many people tell me, oh yeah, I work with SCORE. I've had a mentor through SCORE, and how much of an impact that mentorship program has really had in their business and where it's taken their businesses. So, boy, I really think that one of the keys to SCORE is that mentor. And if you haven't checked out the mentor program through SCORE that we talk about on the program a lot, I would really encourage listeners to take advantage of that program. It's just a great tool. We're talking with people. You're able to talk with people that have years and years of experience, that have been where you are probably right now in some way and capacity. So I would really encourage people to take advantage of that.
Okay. We are about where we should be to take a second break. You're listening to BizTalk with SCORE and WHBY. I'll be right back after these messages.
And welcome back, everyone, to another episode of BizTalk with SCORE here on WHBY. And today's a special one. It's actually our year-end show here, as we're calling it, kind of wrapping up the year and looking back at some of the amazing small business stories that we've helped share out over the last 12 months or so. And the topic for this segment, when Terry pitched it, I was very excited. So we're going to focus this next segment here all on our favorite episodes from the year. And Terry and Rick, who are joining me here today, we all got a good laugh out of the fact that I couldn't keep my list short. So that's kind of why I'm going first here today to talk about my favorite memories and episodes from the past year here. And I'm going to kind of go in calendar order. So we're going to take a step back into May of 2025. And I co-hosted a show with our guest for that episode was the Fox Valley Data Exchange. And Jason Shoelist is the owner of that company. And being a self-proclaimed data nerd myself, I was really excited to dive into Jason's company and just knowing Jason from a past life as well. It's great to touch base with him again and cross paths and really hear about the amazing good work that he's doing in gathering all of this amazing data and sharing it out with so many great nonprofits so that they can then go forward and do the work, the beneficial work and impactful work that they need to do in the community. So it was great to catch up with Jason. Moving into the summer months here, I co-hosted an episode in June, and our guest was Dustin from the History Museum at the Castle. And this is one of the many amazing tourism attractions throughout the Fox cities, but this one definitely holds a special place in my heart. It was always such a joy to be able to promote the History Museum in my past life and see all of the amazing exhibits that they would bring to Appleton and to the greater Appleton area, and just the amazing impact that they had, certainly not only on the many school groups that come through their doors, but also to see that visitor impact just time and time again, and all the great work that they're doing there. Plus the building is pretty cool. It has a great history story all its own as a former Masonic temple. So just a really great story and great to hear the things to come for the History Museum at the Castle. I'll round out my last three here. I'll kind of group them all together. Salon 54, Rosemary Alcantara is the owner there. Aside from it certainly being a business that I get to promote and talk with Rosemary almost every day, just hearing her story, her full story and how she got into this business, and now she's opening her next chapter of her business, and she's going to be moving into a brand new space in January. That's, gosh, I'd say almost triple the size of her old space. So seeing her business grow and continue to grow, and then also the educational component and how she's sharing her knowledge with so many is just really cool. And then also, I know Terry mentioned it early on, but one of our business women in business month guests was Megan Dickman-Renard. President and CEO or owner, I should say, of the Business News. Certainly a personal friend, but also she is just someone that I love to see her excel, and then to have now this amazing newspaper product in a time that people don't always look to newspapers. She's helping people make that change, and it's really cool to see. And then lastly was my last co-host of the year outside of today, and that is Lakeshore College. So my alma mater, being able to interview Paul Carlson, the president of Lakeshore College, and hear the wonderful, amazing things that are happening there on campus.
Okay. Thank you, Mary. Luckily, Rick and I can't go through all the shows we hosted because it would take us another hour. So we'll just follow up with a few. But we really do appreciate Mary stepped in this year and did a great job. And we've learned a lot from her and brings incredible ideas to the show. And as you can probably tell, has a lot of passion for the guests she does bring in. I'm going to mention the panel show we did during the Women in Business Month on work-life balance. We had 3 businesses, 360U with the owners Laura and Maria, Sprout Chiropractic with Dr. Callie, and the Motherhood Alliance with Andrea and Brittany, the owners. And it was the whole Women in Business Month had started as an idea on trying to make sure we're talking about the issues and opportunities for women as they start up a business because of how important they were to SCORE. So I was doing some research on that, and it was before we started, and it was interesting to find out that not unexpectedly, the research now shows that the reasons for failure or success of a business are small business are similar between women and men. There were some differences, but there really isn't anymore. But what there is significant differences in the factors about how they operate and where they operate. And 3 that stood out really as looked at it were the types of industries. So I think it was 11 of 14 industries. It was pretty evenly split between men and women, but 3 industries: manufacturing, construction, and professional services. The first 2 had much larger proportion of men. Services had a much larger proportion of women. So that was one. We also found, surprisingly, that while women are very good, far better than men in personal networking and maintaining connections, that does not translate into business as well. And men are actually much better at professional networking than women. So it was another area we talked about a little bit in our first episode. But the third one was around pay gaps. And it was something the Minneapolis Federal Reserve did a study on this summer. And without going into too much detail, just say for women starting out once they start work full time, there's a consistent 14% pay gap, and due to a lot of things around the job type as well as other more issues we've heard about before. But that 14% pay gap stays there consistently until the first baby is born. Okay. Then suddenly that 14% pay gap goes to 30 and grows from there. And that is for working women. Okay. And so what the Fed looked at was, why is that happening? And it really comes down to women beginning to value flexibility more after they've had a child, and that women take more of the childcare responsibilities and duties. So, if what happens then is women will move from larger to smaller firms. They'll move to businesses that are closer to their area where they can have far more flexibility. And the statistics were pretty dramatic to say this is what's happening, and women are looking for more flexibility in their jobs once they've had a family because of the role they take. Well, going back to the panel show, that's what we talked a little bit about was work-life balance, and this was more from the perspective of owning a business. But all 3 of these businesses were set up on the foundation of the first priority is the family, and then the business gets built around the family. And learned an awful lot there, but some of the things that stood out for me was they were all good at setting boundaries. And once they set the boundaries, they were used for decision making. So one of the businesses does not do a lot in the summers. And it's very clear you don't plan something new in the summer. Okay. The other businesses have times when they have to have help from their family to do different things, but they all have boundaries. They all know the why they are in business and what it means for them. They understand the importance of getting help, some families, some professional advice and other things. And the other thing I really liked was they adapt when needed, and they were really good at making the decisions when they had to. Sometimes they don't like having to deal with conflict or in the same way everybody else does, having to really deal with tough issues, but they deal with them. They go ahead and say, we're going to deal with them. We're going to work through them. And that's really important for them. So for me, it was a really good show to learn more about how you manage work-life balance. It was something I was not good at in my career until the last 3 or 4 years. In fact, I did not have work-life balance at all until about that time. And so I really appreciated hearing what others do and how it works for them. So that was the panel show for Women in Business Month. So with that, Rick, we'll talk to you, have you go ahead and talk about the shows you were interested in.
Well, I have to just start off by, I'm going to cheat here. I'm going to mention more than 2 shows here, but very briefly, just a couple that I wanted to highlight overarching. First of all, I have to say this, that every time that we have Kurt Haling on from Haling and Associates, one of our sponsors, I am always amazed at how much I learn about the wonderful world of tax law. Kurt makes it fun. He makes it interesting. And he's just a super guest. So if you hear we're having Kurt on as a guest, make sure you tune in. He'll save you money. He'll give you great advice of how you can maximize what you should be doing. And also gives you really great advice and wisdom of how you can use professional accounting services to your advantage and why you should. So again, Kurt is just an awesome guest all the time. But he was on more than one time with us, so that technically doesn't count as one show. So that's one of my loopholes. Okay. But having said that, then I've got 2 others I'd like to mention this morning. One is somebody who is just starting out. And we normally don't have somebody who's just starting a business on the show. And in this case, the gentleman that I'm talking about is Jeremy Schmidt. He had started a company based on an invention he had called the Sand Slicer. And he had only been in business maybe 4 or 5 months when we had him on. But what was so interesting about him, he was at the very beginning of the entrepreneurial journey. And it was based on something that he had tremendous passion about, and that was the invention that he had come up with. And it was really an interesting way for, I think, listeners to get a firsthand experience of listening to what a new entrepreneur is going through and some of the choices and things decisions they have to make along the way. So I think that Jeremy was a really interesting guest. And I think if you want some pointers on things you should do when you first initially start up, if you're thinking of starting your business out there, I'd go back into the podcast vault and look at that and listen to that episode. The second one, I'm going to go in the extreme opposite direction from somebody just starting out in business to one of my mentors in life, who's actually been in her role for over 30 years, and she's worked for the same organization for just shy of 50, and that is Community First Credit Union's Kathy Tierney. Just by way of disclosure, I worked for Kathy for many years, but having her on talking about the 50-year journey of Community First Credit Union was interesting from the opposite perspective of what made Jeremy Schmidt's show interesting. And that was somebody who has had a lot of success through the years, being able to step back and look at it objectively and carry that story from all the way from day one, because she had been with the organization nearly from day one all the way through to its present time. And I just think having that window of experience, that wealth of knowledge available, it makes for great insights and makes for great listening if you, again, want to learn from somebody who's really done the job very effectively and well over the years. So those would be my 2. I'm sure that if you asked Terry, Mary, and I if we had others, we could rattle off a bunch more. But one of the things I would like to ask my co-hosts is, what advice have we heard from people over the course of the year that you'd like to repeat or share? What things have people said, our guests said, that stick out that you think are lessons that we can share with our listeners again this morning?
I'll go first. The biggest thing that, and I found this consistently year after year now, and maybe coming from a big company, you don't have the same perspective, and it's around networking. In a big company, you have a network there. There's people that do everything. I mean, we had a book 3 or 4 inches thick on how you did logos and brands and how you post them. You can find everything there. There's rules and regulations for everything. But what surprised me at first, but I really appreciate now, is the people as they talk about how they got better at what they do, how they learned how to do things, is that ability to network and talk to other people and learn from them. And I'd say it's almost every episode. Somebody talks about that, either a mentor who really helped them, or an organization they got help from, or SCORE, where they got help from SCORE. And it's that need for a network of people to really help you. And every show, I almost just wait for it now. Sometimes I ask, but it's usually coming. And you'll hear about that. And I really do think that is a great message for small businesses.
Yeah, Mary,
Yeah,
what about you?
I would say, thinking back on the episodes I co-host specifically with entrepreneurs, I would say it often came up about, the fear of you're starting this business, right? And you don't know whether it's going to be a go or whether it's not. And, one particular phrase I think, or that sticks with me, and I think it was Rosemary from Salon 54 who said something to this effect of, just go for it. Like, just have the fear. The fear is okay, and the fears should push you, because what's going to be on the other side is worthwhile of that fear. And certainly that's not verbatim what she said, but something to that regard. And I think, that can often be applied to any situation, really. So I hope it impacted listeners, because it definitely left an impact on me.
Yeah, kind of akin to that too. One of the things that have heard often is people say, I should have started sooner. I shouldn't have waited as long as I did before I started. And it's kind of akin to what you just said, Mary, the idea of there's a fear out there, and you want to make sure that you're planning for that and doing your business plan and working with others to make sure that you're accounting for that fear. But sometimes we get kind of stuck in that paralysis of not wanting to make that decision because of that fear. So I do think that that's a common thread that almost all the guests we've had on, the entrepreneurs especially, that they've addressed over time. And before we kind of wrap up this segment, just one quick thing I have to let listeners know, and I have to get it out there. Terry, who messes up with Zach more often, you or me, when it comes to messing up on the broadcast?
I don't like to cast aspersions on other people, Rick, so I don't know if I want to answer that.
So Terry's being generous. That's by far me. So, okay. So we're at a time.
I'll just say, Rick, I'll just add one thing to that.
Yeah.
So we went through a series of shows where Rick had an issue, maybe 3 or 4 shows in a row. And I'd been good all year to that point. Then he was off the show. And right in the startup of the very next one, I screwed up. Then I screwed up again in the second segment. I picked something up from him. But
for the life of me, I couldn't say Minneapolis one episode. So for whatever reason, well, with that, I think we've hit a time to take our next break. You're listening to BizTalk with SCORE on WHBY, and we will be right back after these messages.
Welcome back to BizTalk with SCORE. This is our final show of the year, and we want to give a special thank you to our 5 sponsors that worked with us so much this year. I'm really appreciative of them. I'm going to first cover Hailing and Associates. Rick talked a little bit about Kurt before, and in fact, Kurt will be our first guest in January on the air on January 10th. But Hailing and Associates has been a sponsor of this show for as long as I've been on it. So since about 2000, I started as a guest host in August, September, or actually July of 2018. And so it started probably a few years before that. So he's our longest term sponsor. He's been a great host and somebody we really, or guest, somebody we really appreciate having on. His business is one that is doing very well. He's been growing in the area as other CPAs have aged out of the business. Kurt has been bringing in new CPAs to work with him in building his business. He provides great support for his customers. He provides great support to BizTalk with SCORE. Really appreciative of Kurt. So look up Hailing and Associates when you need some help with your taxes. He does a great job there and can really help you out. So Rick, we'll turn to you for the Community Foundation.
Yeah, I just really want to go out of our way to make sure that we appreciate the Community Foundation for the Fox Valley region, and specifically the David L. and Rita E. Nelson Family Fund. They really stepped in at a time for us here at SCORE that was an important time, and committed to us for a 2-year grant, which was phenomenal, and we really appreciate their support. As I mentioned, it is managed by the David L. and Rita E. Nelson Family Fund is managed by the Community Foundation for the Fox Valley region. It's a permanent donor advised endowment established in 2017 with an estate gift exceeding $100 million. It is one of the largest single charitable gifts in Wisconsin history. And the fund provides grants for parks, education, health, history, and community services, while also funding programs like BizTalk, and that have been business focused, supporting local entrepreneurs and development in the Fox cities. So again, a special thanks to the fund and to the Community Foundation. I'd also like to thank our friends at Johnson Financial Group. Again, they also stepped in a time where their sponsorship was very important. Not that all of our sponsorships aren't important, but Johnson Financial Group really stepped up and helped us out. And Johnson Financial Group, just phenomenal people, great to work with. They provide comprehensive financial services here in Wisconsin for businesses and individuals, and covering banking, wealth management, insurance, employee benefits. And they often focus on family-owned businesses with tailored solutions for growth, succession, and legacy planning. They're known for their family-owned roots, community involvement, partnering with organizations like SCORE, expert advice featured in podcasts like BizTalk, and providing educational resources for running, growing, and managing businesses for long-term success. So I will turn it over to you, Mary.
Yeah, so I'm going to first talk about the business news. We mentioned CEO and publisher of the business news, Megan Dickman-Renard, in my favorite episode rundown of the year. And the business news, we're so grateful for their support, for their really additional promotion, as well as they do have an ad in their publication that promotes BizTalk with SCORE. So we're certainly grateful for that. The business news itself is a regional business publication, a newspaper publication that serves more than 4 counties across Wisconsin. It was founded back in 2003 and really has since grown significantly, now expanding into north central Wisconsin in 2005 and west central Wisconsin just into 2022. So Megan and her entire team, they are at their core a team of storytellers, and they do such a wonderful job bringing that publication to life, sharing the ideas, innovation, growth, and people shaping Wisconsin's business community. So thank you so much to the business news. And then next year, I'm going to talk a little bit about one of our newest sponsors that we are ever so grateful to have joined forces with, and that is the New North. Barb Lemieux, former president of the New North, now Patty Haybeck, who is current president of the New North. New North is, one of the synergies that we love so much about that organization is their coverage area. It just fits so seamlessly with SCORE Northeast Wisconsin, and the many mentors and counties that we serve under our organization. So New North itself is also a 501c3 nonprofit regional marketing and economic development corporation. And they cover an 18 county region in Northeast Wisconsin, known as the New North region. So they really foster collaboration among private and public sector leaders throughout those 18 counties. They're also a regional partner of the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, or WEDC, and also the state of Wisconsin, along with local economic development partners. And they represent more than 150 private investors. So thank you so much, certainly to Barb Lemieux and the current entire team over at New North. We're so grateful.
Okay. First, thank you to Rick and Mary for helping with the show throughout the year. They've been great to work with. Really appreciative of having them. Just like to mention, as we go into 2026, we've got 2 new sponsors who are joining us. First, Kathy Tierney and Community First Credit Union will be sponsoring SCORE and BizTalk. And then the Baird Deaning Group will also be joining us too. So we'll talk more about them next year, but we are very appreciative for having them sponsor us. Again, it's very important for how we raise money to help support mentoring and education for people in this area. With that, I'd like to thank everybody for listening in. We are available on WHBY every Saturday morning. We're also available on our website at score.org/Northeast Wisconsin, or podcatchers anywhere and everywhere. You can find episodes in the podcatchers back to beginning of 2024 and the website to 2018. Thank you again for listening. We've really appreciated having you on, and we look forward to you coming back in 2026. Have a great holiday season, everyone. Bye.